Okay, I actually think we are live. Welcome everyone to Weekend Wind Down with Business Coach Nancy. I am so happy to be here. I think it's been 4 weeks since I've actually been able to be here. So for those of you, I want to just make sure we're broadcasting. Hold on. For those of you who don't know, my mom did pass away about 2 weeks ago. And again, I really appreciate all the shout outs and the condolences and the reach out and the cards and all the messages. So thank you for that. But I'm back now. I've been back for a week and I'm excited to be here. I missed my weekend wind down. It's been so crazy trying to reschedule people and try to get back with my clients. So it's exciting. So I want to welcome Ashley today. Welcome, Ashley. You are from Ashley Uhl Consulting, and you are a client service consultant. Why don't you start and tell us what that is all about?
Okay, so what I do is really help designers develop the kind of client service and client experience that really kind of helps them elevate their entire design firm. There's so many designers out there, so many different design firms, and so many people do it beautifully, right? They can deliver beautiful rooms, but what I'm trying to help designers do is how to have an experience that they can deliver to their clients that's just as amazing as the design that they can create, because the experience really is so important. If it's just a beautiful room at the end and it was a bit of a chaotic and harried experience, at the end, it may still be like, would we do that again? And also the designer themselves is feeling very stressed out and it's not an enjoyable experience. So what I help designers do is really figure out how to deliver this kind of experience that's efficient, that creates loyalty, that they can charge more for.
Yeah.
And yes, exactly. Right. Because people absolutely will and do pay more for a better experience. Right. That's why luxury brands exist. And poll after poll, stat after stat I see, it's like, yes, absolutely. People do pay more. And they're really willing to go far and above when you're referring people, all of that, when the experience is there. And it's getting to the point where it's kind of an expectation, right? Where we're getting to really expect an experience, because once one category of businesses does it, we just as consumers kind of assume that all of the businesses, no matter what category it's in, should be doing this. And so I'm getting designers ready for that, to be able to compete in that kind of environment and do it well and do it profitably as well.
Yes, it's a great idea. I mean, I teach my clients to create a system that is seamless and fun and enjoyable for their client, but there's things they can go above and beyond. Before we do that, though, we're actually having a glitch because this was supposed to broadcast on my business page.
Oh, no.
And apparently it's broadcasting on my personal page.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So let me see. My son said he's going to share it, but I want to see if I can share it, because I know we had about 20 people RSVP.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And yet they're probably confused what happened. even during my mother's passing and sickness, people were messaging me like, "Where's Weekend Wind Down? I'm looking for it." And I'm like, "Sorry, I had to cancel it." So let me just tell everyone, sorry, we are, this way they can find us, broadcasting on my personal page. Oops. Please join us there. Okay, let's see if I can get that. My son's saying stop and restart, but you really can't do that because Be Live needs 15 minutes, like a 10-minute in advance. You can't just like go on to Be Live and broadcast. So hopefully this satisfies the people who are looking for us.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it's funny because I did this on my personal page for about a year.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
And I just switched to my business page not too long ago. So
gotcha.
Interesting. So I'm going to tell Kaden, if you're still watching, also go on to the event that is in my group. It's on my business page, and see if you can type a comment for everyone to come over here, because the people who RSVP to the event will get a notice if there's a comment made. So if you could do that for me, sweetie, I'd appreciate it. So okay, Ashley. So talking about the client experience, give me some simple examples, because I know this can be extraordinary, like how high the service level can go when you're trying to give somebody a great experience, right?
Yes.
So give us some simple things that you recommend that a designer put into place. Like these are no-brainer type stuff.
Sure. Yeah. So simple things that are really doable for any designer, right? Because it can go high. It can get really costly. It can be taking a lot of your time and all that stuff, and you need extra staff, right? But for simple things, some of the things that you can do are, this is extremely simple. What I love to do is when you have someone sign that LOA, you send them a small gift and like a welcome card. And so you don't want to just thank at the end. You really want to thank them from the beginning and welcome them. And it really sets the stage for, ooh, what kind of experience is this going to be if this is how we're starting off?
Oh, I love that idea. Something so simple. When you say a little something, how little are we talking?
It can easily be something like $10, like a small box of truffles, especially if you have like a local chocolate place that you love to go, or a small bouquet of flowers. Again, you want to always, the kind of client and the kind of profits that you're going to be getting from your typical project, you just kind of align it that way. So if you're typically working in $100,000 and up projects, then you can send like a bouquet of flowers that's maybe $50 to $75. But if you're working with, $20,000 projects, you of course don't want to be continually cutting into your profits. And so then you can just send a simple card with, a small little box of truffles from a more unique store. Godiva is getting kind of, and it's like now it's at Target. So you want something a little bit more interesting.
It's funny you said that, because a couple of people sent, like cookies to the house for the last couple of weeks. And there was one batch of cookies that literally was to die for.
Really?
And I'm like, where's the card? Where's the business card? Like, I have to take a picture of the label. So I remember to do this for other people. And then there was one of my clients in the past who coached with me. She lives in Vail, Colorado. And I guess around Christmas time, she had sent, which my clients, you do not have to do that. But it was like from a special local place, like you said. Yeah. And it was so sweet because it was so personal.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And it's always fun, of course, to work with other small businesses as we're small businesses, and to kind of just create those partnerships so you have each other's backs and you're really willing to go kind of above and beyond for each other's clients. It really does create such a great little partnership for you, and you can continually go to them. It's like, oh, I have an emergency. Can you put something together for me? And they're that much more willing to be like, absolutely, than if it's like a big corporation, you're not always going to be able to work in that way with them. Yes. So yeah, it's just something small and, like you said, personal.
And there's Millie. Because that's just my life today.
One of those days.
It's just one of those days. So Millie's going to participate in the broadcast today. Okay, so I hear in my head all the objections, not objections. I'm going to change the word.
Yeah.
If I said to someone, pick a small gift to give to the client right at the beginning.
Yeah.
You get that anxiety. Like, well, what should I pick? And like, should it be related to interior design? And what if they don't eat chocolate? And, maybe it should be tea, or like, how do you resolve that for your clients who get really nervous? Like they just can't seem to pick something. Do you get that?
Yes. So absolutely. I have many, many questions about like, oh, what gift should I give? And all of these things, right? So what I say is this: at the beginning, you can just develop a signature gift, and that's the gift that you give. And now life is different now. So I do always let people know that at the beginning, when you don't know the client as well, maybe stay away from anything that has nuts in it, right? Because you don't want to send like something to a house where the child has a nut allergy and you've just sent nuts in there. That's just, you know.
I know, that's what I was thinking.
Exactly, right? So I do always say no nuts at the beginning until you know this person, right? And you know their family and all of that stuff. And I do actually even recommend people, designers, asking clients. Sometimes I like to give gifts and sometimes they're food items. Does anyone in your house have any allergies that I need to know about to make sure that I keep you and your family safe, right? And so that's even a question that I do recommend asking. But then, of course, you don't have to give a food item. I'm just a foodie. I love food, and giving food is, right, it's one of my favorite ways to give things. And then it's disposable, right? You use it up and then it's gone and it doesn't go in a junk drawer. Yes. So that's another thing is I love to give things that are disposable, but flowers can be the same way, right? Where it's still disposable and it's beautiful for 7 days. Every once in a while you run into somebody that has an allergy to a flower, but it's not like a life-threatening thing. It's like, oh, I have a headache, you know, if anything. But yeah, you just want to develop kind of one gift and let that be what you do. And then you can just kind of go over and over, and that's what your go-to. And at the end, you can personalize the gift because then you know that person, right? And you know what your relationship is like. You know what the interest is. If you want to give an additional gift, you can do that. And then it's easier to really make it about them rather than just a welcome gift that everyone gets the same thing.
And this is a no promo gift. Let's be clear. This is
yes, absolutely.
A mug with your company name on it, right?
That is right. Yes. So as I say, that's not a gift, right? Like you said, it is a promotion. And so everything that I do, anything that I give, anything that I even write doesn't have my business name on it because then it's about me. So when I write a thank you card, it's just a thank you card from Crane & Company because then it's not about me at all, right? It's me thanking them. And so, yes, absolutely. Be very careful about the promo gift. And a lot of times this is something that just, again, ends up in a junk drawer and the gesture isn't as appreciated. And you spent a lot of money maybe, right? Yeah. And so then it's just, it kind of falls flat.
I agree. What else? So that's the beginning of the process. And I remember thinking, and I think I told this story once before on Weekend Wind Down. I had a real estate agent come to the house that I just sold less than a year ago. Yeah. And she left like a cute little thing on my doorknob, right? But it was straight promo. It was like, we decided just to pop in and it was a little popcorn thing. And,
oh, gotcha.
Right. But it was a promo.
Yeah.
If you go to the house and you have a series of meetings, is it something that you recommend they bring a little something every time? Because I remember thinking, why not bake homemade cookies and have them in the freezer, have them in little packages or something that every time you go to the client's house, you're grabbing a little something to bring?
Sure. Yeah. So absolutely. The only concern is the consistency, right? So you want to make sure, because once you do something once, it can be, okay, maybe this just was a one-time thing. But once it's a twice, now it's a routine. And so then you get yourself locked into that. And so it's just something that you have to be very careful that you can do consistently. So one thing that I like to do is rather make it a spontaneous surprise, but you make notes along the way about the client. So if you notice that they always are having like a Starbucks tall latte with a vanilla this and a that, right? But they use soy milk, you note that, and then you have a morning meeting and you show up with that.
Okay, so this is key because I have a Nail Your Sales training course. It's like a $97 course that I had done really early in the beginning of when I was coaching. And I was redoing one of the audio modules today.
Yeah.
Because the audio wasn't good. And one of the things I say is be a really good listener and take notes on things like the dog's name, the husband's name, a sister, whatever they talk about. Make sure you're taking notes. So that is really a nice addition to like things you're noticing. You're forcing people to listen better.
Right. Yes, absolutely. So I got this. Oh, were you going to say something, Nancy?
Nope. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I got this term actually from a parenting class that I took called learning to notice. It's about something totally different. It's about like learning to notice that your kids are doing things well and all that, and you're focusing on the positive versus like, why did you just throw this in the air and knock over whatever, right? But
Right.
the term still applies here, where you are learning to notice what is interesting in your client's house, what sort of like trinkets, and not just from the design standpoint, but from the standpoint of what sort of gifts are they going to be interested? What sort of topics can you talk about? How can you create, a better connection? How can you surprise them and gift something at the end? So absolutely, all of these things really, really do help make that experience amazing. And one of the absolute keys of this sort of high-end luxury experience is personalization, right? And the higher you go, the more personalized it is. And so, this is definitely something that can help you elevate your whole firm, is having these sort of personalized things. And maybe they didn't even tell you, you just notice, and then you surprise them. And it really is that sort of, wow, you notice this? A lot of people aren't great listeners, right? And so when somebody is a great listener and they notice these tiny little details, it makes you feel very special. And there is literally no one in the world who doesn't like to feel special, whether you are a billionaire or not, right? Everyone loves to feel special. So all of these little things that you can do really help them feel like cared for, understood, and special to you and your firm, which is, of course, huge.
Yes. And I'm going to add to that,
Yeah.
that when you start taking notice of their interests, what magazines they read, what TV shows they're watching, what social media they're on, what they're talking about, and who they're talking about, that if you are working with your ideal client, this is now giving you insight into connecting with more of those types of people. So
very good point. Absolutely.
So it's not just about that particular client's experience, although we're talking about that today.
Yeah.
It is literally about being cognizant of what those level of people that you're working with, and let's just call it for this demonstration, your ideal client, that everything you can notice about their house and take note of, that's going to give you insight on how to connect with them in person or on social media, what topics they're interested in, so you can write blogs about it and you can be where they are on a regular basis, besides giving them a great experience. I love
that. Yes, knowing your client and really studying them is absolutely so huge. And like you said, marketing and really understanding also how to anticipate their needs, right? Because you are going to have these similar clients over and over and over again. And so you can anticipate their needs by basically proactively answering a question before they even have to ask it, either in person or on the site. And then it's like, wow, she really knows me. I feel really understood. I'm going to work with her or him because they understand what concerns me about this process or whatever. So absolutely, knowing your clients, studying them is really, really influential in getting new clients in the door.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so as the project is going along, what other things can they do to make this a really fabulous, high-end luxury experience?
So some of these things are, again, small, but you can always encourage, and there's even a box, it's on Amazon, I believe that it's sold, that shows where you can put your shoes and or pull booties out of, so that every contractor that can come in can put a little, like sometimes the cable guy will come in and put a booty over his dirty work shoe, right? And so it's showing you what to do without having to boss them around, right? Because the box does it for you. It's even labeled. And so it's these small things that are showing them, wow, they really care about my house, right? They don't want to dirty it up, all of that. They're seeing that, they're noticing it's these small things. Or even if you're making a presentation, you can ask, if you're doing your design presentation and you have all sorts of samples and it's leaving pieces of this and this is frayed and whatever, right? You can lay down, you can bring a little cloth to always bring with you and just tell them, I always lay this cloth down on the client's table to make sure that we don't scratch or finish, all of that stuff. You're really showing that you respect them and their home and the pieces that they already own.
I love this. I wouldn't even think of all these things.
This is what I love.
I mean, well, listen, I'm the kind who sets the holiday table with paper plates. So I'm not a designer. Let's make it clear. I'm a business coach. And it shows, right? Because when I see the designers starting to lay out their holiday tables, and I'm like, oh my God, that's so cute. Like, who would think to put a pine cone? And like, you know, when I see these crafty things, I'm like, I used to be crafty, not anymore. But I love that, like bringing something to lay your samples on.
Right.
And even when you were talking about the things you put over your feet, I was thinking, do you give that to all your industry partners as well?
Yes, absolutely. So you can do that, or if it's like a day where all of your trades are coming in on the same day, you can just put it right there and they're taking it, they're putting them on as they go in. Same thing with like the installation day. There's so much that's happening on installation day. Same thing, you could put that out. But yeah, absolutely. If you're not going to see that vendor and they're coming in, that trade is coming in to do something, yes, you can give that to them. And you really do kind of want to talk as much as you can especially if this is somebody you already have a connection with, right? And you referred them, that it's always easier to control that situation, right? With them coming in versus if it's like the client hired the plumber, you don't know this guy, it's going to be harder for him to like get on board with what your standards are.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's always more of a challenge. If you can really kind of maintain these relationships with your plumber and your electrician and your clients are consistently using them, yeah, absolutely. You want to make sure that they're able to maintain your standards of excellence. You only want to be partnering with people that you know are willing to deliver to your level, because even though they don't technically work for your company, they still are a representative of your company in your client's eyes. Whether that's fair or not, that's the reality of what that client is going to feel, because it's part of this entire experience that they're having with you, right? They wouldn't be interacting with this plumber if they hadn't hired you to do this job. And so it can be very difficult. So yeah, absolutely. If you are referring people, you want to make sure that the vendors and the trades you're referring are willing to be on board with your standards of excellence. And hopefully they should have these already on their own, right? And that's why you brought them on. But if they don't, then you want to have your own standards that they agree to, right?
Yes. Yes. And I'm curious, I know a lot of people are going to be watching on replay because we're in the wrong spot. But if anyone watching now, do any of these little extras, what do you call them? Like little extra?
I don't really have a name for them now. Sometimes some of these are touch points, right? Like the welcome gift, right, is a client touch point. Some of the things that you can do later are client touch point. Well, you know what? That's not, it really is. These are standards of excellence that you can have in your business. Now, the client touch points are like the gifts and the thank you cards and all of that stuff. But these things really are standards of excellence that you want to create and then consistently maintain for your own firm.
I need to come up with a name for this. Like literally, it's going to drive me crazy. I'll be messaging you at like midnight. Like luxurious touches or like luxurious. I don't know. I need to come up with the word.
I know.
Yeah, there's got to be this good name for it. Even in your marketing, when you're marketing, you can come up with a name. I'll help you come up with a name.
Okay.
I love this stuff. This is where I do get creative. So I'll think of something. If anyone is watching on replay, just put #replay. And if you're responding to us, we'll know that you're watching on replay. But yeah, there's got to be, Wendy's saying, let me bring it up. Hold on.
Okay.
Wendy, we need a name. We need a name for little things. These are great ideas. I always send a thank you after the consult, but I was looking for what to do after they sign on. Yeah.
Oh.
I really do love that idea of consistently giving that luxurious little tidbit.
Right. Whatever the tidbit, right? Some sort of marketing term for it. Yeah. And you then absolutely can even talk about and use this, whatever term we decide, like on your own site to say, like, we deliver finer points of service or whatever, right? And then this is one more thing that can connect with your ideal client, because a luxury client is going to be looking for that kind of a thing, right? And if you say, this is what you do, then it's like, oh, this is like the Four Seasons or the Ritz-Carlton of a design firm. They know how to, pay attention to these details.
That's what we have to look on, the Ritz-Carlton website, and see what they think of this. But here's the beautiful thing about this.
Yeah.
I'm always telling people to become a memorable character, a memorable designer.
Yeah.
If you make yourself memorable in your marketing, that when someone wakes up and hates their kitchen, they're gonna be like, wait, there was this girl I saw, this woman or this man I saw on Facebook Live, or they sent a great email or a great something.
Yeah.
This is making you so memorable to the client you're working with. And if you can do this at any level, like even as simple as you say, have a beautiful little cloth that you lay out before you put your samples out.
Yes.
Cover your shoes when you walk in the house. That's just your standard, or that you never want to waver from. And workers. These are things that people remember.
Absolutely. Yes. Because even though it's an expectation and we're kind of moving into the sort of what they're calling the experience economy, it still isn't 100% done, right? It's a lot of times done like a halfway or like a 60%. And so if you can really go all into this, you really do become well known, right? There is a reason why we know that the Four Seasons and the Ritz-Carlton, and that these are always up here, right? There are those companies who stand out, and so that can become what you're known for if you can do it well.
I'm thinking it's a white glove service of something.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Well, did we freeze? Are we frozen? Can you hear me, Ashley?
I can hear you and see you moving around.
Okay, well, my computer's frozen. But I'm glad you see me moving around. So let me close out some things. So it definitely seems like some kind of a white glove standard of design.
Yes, absolutely. And that is something that the Ritz and the Four Seasons, that's the kind of term that they would use to, white glove.
Okay. All right. So give us another couple of tidbits here of how to make yourself stand out to your client and be that luxury level.
Yeah. So another thing that I like to do is two things. Well, is create an experience that can kind of bring your clients together, especially if you have a certain category of clients. Maybe you can divide if you have enough clients, divide them into categories of like, these are art lovers and these are food lovers. And then you can, now this is of course for a higher end firm, but you could hold, like a wine tasting, or a famous chef from your town is coming in and having an event, and it's like a cooking class for all of those clients who love food, and for all of your clients who love art. Then you can hold like a special event at an art gallery again. So some of these more local, interesting things that they may not be able to do on their own, or they just have never happened to do them. These are, again, ways to really, really stand out and give that continued experience to this entire process that's going on with you. And even if it's not in the middle of the process, it can be something that 6 months later you're having a client appreciation event and you want to continue to connect with them, right? They might have a repeat project. Maybe they're going to buy a second home, or they're just going to refer you. You will always want to be top of mind in your client's mind. And so these are continued ways to have those sort of touch points, but also appreciate them and make it personalized, where it's like, oh, they know that I love food, or I love art or wine, or whatever it may be. That's another one of those things that you can do. And there's ways to move that up and down in terms of budget. So, if it's you're on the lower end of the budget, you could, I'm sure everyone in any major city has a place where you can go to like a cooking class, right? There's like a cooking school, and you could reserve all of the spots for that and hold your own sort of party. Or you could go to the higher end and you could host it. Like you could have an event where they're coming to you. Maybe it's even in your own kitchen. So it's just, there's a a wide range of budget there on which way you could go. Even if you have, go ahead.
I'm thinking, well, of course, my brain's always thinking. I love these ideas. So one of my clients years ago, she had a very high-end client, and I said, why don't you offer to provide the wine for a cocktail party that, she could host?
Yeah.
But I said, you're actually going to suggest it to the client. You're going to say, oh my God, your kitchen came out fabulous. If you ever want to host a cocktail party, I would be happy to provide the wine for it, or some food for it. So it's getting the idea in the client's mind that they're going to invite friends over, and then inevitably the designer gets invited. So it's a little sneaky, but it works. And you can also say, I've paid for a chef to come over to cook a meal for 4. So it's your husband and one other couple, and hopefully they can invite a couple who's interested.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And even if you don't get invited, it's still this sort of, I'm providing this for you and it's amazing, right? And they're naturally going to be this whole conversation of, wow, your kitchen is beautiful. I know, I love my designer, right? And there's going to naturally be this back and forth. So even if you're not there, you will be the topic of conversation throughout the entire night. And so, that's marketing and word of mouth without you having to even speak for yourself, because oftentimes you speaking for yourself isn't as valuable as somebody else speaking for you, right, and vouching for you. Yeah.
So what do you suggest when it's a luxury level client?
Yeah.
Often they don't want to give reviews because they kind of want to keep you secretive. And I've heard that from a lot. I have some very high-end designers. And they're like, no, I can't even tell you their name, right? I'm on sworn to secrecy. And I'm like, okay. But they often have trouble getting reviews and testimonials from this level person. So is there any kind of trick that you have up your sleeve for that one?
So I totally understand. And I know exactly what you're talking about. So there's a couple of different ways that you can go about it. One, you can just not fight it and just kind of work within that industry and know that that's what's going to happen. And then you have to really, really rely on referrals, right? Because if you're really, really high end, there are very few people that you're going to work with that you have no idea who they are. There is no connection, right? It usually goes, this person connects you to that person connects, right? And because like this sort of high end circle is small, unless you're in a very big city, right? We're in St. Louis, and so there is definitely like this sort of country club environment, and it's like, even if this person doesn't know this person knows this person who knows that person, right? So it's always like you're only 2 degrees of separation. So at some point, you may just have to accept that, and then you're going to have to flip your business to be referral-based rather than review-based. Now, the other way that you could go about it is ask if you could do things like just using their first name and then a last initial, or use what kind of profession they're in. These small little adjustments, and then you can kind of show these are the kinds of professions that we work with, because that oftentimes is what happens. Your niche becomes, I work with lawyers and doctors, right? Or I work with financial advisors, whatever. Because again, you're kind of starting to work within an entire community. And so people start to say, oh, this is me. I identify with this, all of that. So, those are some ways that you could kind of work around it, and they might be more willing to say yes. So I would say don't fight it and just lean into it and start to be referral based only. And I think, at the high end, you can do that, or see how you can adjust it to be just like first name, last initial, or what their profession is.
I love what their profession is, by the way, because when someone is niching down to a specific demographic or a specific ideal client, if they are dealing with only stockbrokers, which they don't call themselves that anymore,
right?
My ex-husband would kill me. Financial, or actors, or like stating the profession is actually pretty cool if you're going specifically for a certain professional demographic. And Debbie, let me see what Debbie said here. Hi, Debbie. You could also ask to use their town, city, state instead of their name. Absolutely. A lot of those really high-end clients, they don't even want people to take pictures of their home. But I think with what Ashley's teaching us, they might warm up to you more and look at you less as just a service provider.
Right.
And more of a luxury partner.
Right. Absolutely. So you want to position yourself as like a partner in helping them sort of develop their lifestyle, right? Rather than, like you said, a service provider. You really do want to you want them to see you as an equal and somebody that can really kind of help to elevate that lifestyle for them. And at that level, there's a lot of interest in like being unique and because everybody else has a lot of money. So that's not unique anymore, right? And so they want help continuing to be unique. So what can you do to help them continue to be unique? Be rare, be one of a kind. These are the kinds of words that they're looking for so that they can really stand out. Oh, I have this piece that no one else has, or there's only like 40 in the world. All of these things, they really want to stand out. And then if you show them that you're there to partner with them on these types of things and create these sort of experiences, like the Four Seasons, Morgan Stanley, where I used to work, we did this where it's like, you create these sort of like these trips, like these exclusive trips for these people who can meet this certain level, right? Now it's like these tours that no one else would have access to. Now, again, these are really high-end clients that you're working with, but you can do those things that really help them feel like, wow, I really do have exclusive access, one of a kind, rare, all of these things that all these other just rich bozos don't have any access.
And this is making me think, like, it's so important for the designers to have a network.
Yes.
Like when my clients come to me and they're like, oh, I need someone to do whatever, and it's not something I do, I'm like, oh, I got the best web designer. I got the best this, right? It's my network. As a designer, you want to have a great network.
Absolutely.
So you can refer them to really high level people.
Right.
And something else that just popped in my head and then it went right out. Don't know. This is why I should be writing things down as I'm talking. I have a pen and paper next to me. But that you're walking in their circles even when you're not feeling.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's
right.
Okay, I know what it was.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So the clients often say to me like, well, I can't do that until, I raise my prices, but I can't raise my prices until I do that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm always saying, this is why your prices you're worth more than the square you're standing on in that person's house at that moment.
Yeah.
If you are trying to run a more luxury interior design business or work your way up to that, yes, sometimes you have to start by raising your prices.
Right.
So that you can afford to do some of these special things, but you've given us ideas that are not that expensive. They go from low level to all the way up high.
Right.
To start bringing in those experiences. So which comes first? Raise your prices simultaneously to adding some of these luxury white glove services.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And it also changes someone's view of you, right? Because if you are looking at someone's prices and they're too low, this is a screening process for a wealthy person, right? And so you're like, oh, well, they're not for me. They're $75 an hour, right? They don't understand me. This is not the kind of level of sophistication that I'm looking for. And they're actually looking to spend more, which I know can be so like mind-boggling to some people, right? But we all do that in our own way, right? We are making decisions on clothes this way, on cars this way, all of these things where it's like, or a hotel, right? That's a very easy one to be like, I don't want to spend $60 on a hotel. I know I don't want to be there, right? Like your range is like 150 or something like that. So you're actively finding things that are more expensive. And so they're absolutely going to be doing the same thing with you. So yeah, if your prices are too low, they're not going to think that you're in that crowd with them. And so you're out.
It's so true. And I literally preach this every day. It's like, okay, raise your prices. I can't raise my prices yet, but raising your prices is actually going to attract not just in the universe, but in real life, it attracts a higher level client, the kind that wants to work with you, appreciates your service, appreciates your value for the most part. Now, listen, there's always exceptions to every rule, right?
Yes.
Exceptions to every rule, and I'm sure someone's going to come up with one. But often it happens to me too. If somebody's too cheap, I'm like, why are they so cheap?
Exactly. Right. And so it is a screening process that you do on your own that you think this person isn't for me. Right. And a wealthy person has an entirely different mindset than other people. And so they want you to understand who they are, what their interests are, what their concerns are, and the level of service that they're going to expect. So if you are charging those kinds of prices, then they're going to think, okay, he or she understands what I expect because they're priced out for that sort of luxury service. This isn't like a middle of the road firm or whatever. They're using that to know, are they going to understand what I need throughout this process?
All right. So talk to me about then, because it's bringing all kinds of things to mind. So as designers, they don't make often what their clients make.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So what do you do about, in your world, what do you do about the car you drive, the clothes you wear, and that feeling like the minute they see this, they're not going to want to hire me?
Sure. So one, fake it till you make it, always.
That's my advice, yes.
Right. And two, so I actually have an interesting story about this. So when I was at Morgan Stanley, before I did this, there was a successful advisor who started out when I think he was 23. And his car was terrible and he didn't want people to see it. And so he would literally just park around the block. Now, he never told me what his answer would be if the client said, "Where's your car?" Right? Because that's like, how did you get here?
Right.
If you're from a city, this isn't a big deal, right? But if you are in a driving location, yes. So I would just say, do whatever you can to make the best appearance for what you have. So if you are driving a Honda, right, which is a totally fine car, but maybe they're driving like an S-Class Mercedes, and there's obviously a difference between, you want to make sure that your Honda is immaculate, right, on the outside, on the inside. You never know when they're going to be approaching, all of these things. And the same thing with your clothing and your appearance, right? You always want to be like dressed to the nines when it's practical. Now, of course, on installation day, you can't do all of that stuff, right? And that can become dangerous, right? But whenever you are meeting with them, yeah, you want to be very put together. And it doesn't have to be a certain style because you're a designer, right? Like Rachel Moriarty has a very specific style about her, but you can tell that she has put a lot of attention and care into it. And it's what you would expect a designer to look like, right? Maybe if she was a teacher, then you would be like, oh, you know, she dresses very differently. But for a designer, totally makes sense, right? And you don't question it. Right. Right.
I love
right. Yeah. So you just want to make sure that you are paying attention to every detail because they are paying attention to every detail. And the more put together everything is, the less they are going to pay attention to it, really, in a way, you know, because if they notice that your hair is all over the place and even small things like your shoes are dirty or you're not wearing any jewelry or all of these things, they notice that. I think it was like a Chanel quote that said, like, you wear nice clothes so your clothes aren't noticed, right? Because then you notice, like, if someone isn't dressed well, you notice that.
That's
right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so, but if you dress to a certain level, it gives this overall impression, sometimes not even like a conscious impression. It's this sort of subconscious, like, oh, they're presented very well. They're very prepared. Everything is very put together. And then you just kind of relax versus noticing this sort of chaotic situation walking into you.
We all know people like that.
Right. Or just even an appearance that doesn't show that much attention was paid to it, and you're just walking in and you're wearing like spaghetti straps and yoga pants. Not good, right? And then you are noticing what they're wearing.
Interesting. I know designers who do I'm on my way home from tennis and have to stop by a client, but that's when they already know the client for a while.
Yeah, and I would say even that it's a kind of, I would recommend like keeping a blazer in your car to put over, just something that, because I always compare it to dating. You don't want to get to the point where it's like, oh, now they're always wearing sweatpants, right? Right? And you don't want...
You mean marriage or dating?
Well, it depends on how long you date, right? But for me, now I am old-fashioned. I try to look put together every day, even if I'm just taking my son to the grocery store. But that's just me and who I am. Yes.
Okay, so all right, so my mother, who again passed away 2 weeks ago, she always, she's appalled by her 3 daughters. She was up until a week ago. She was really like, how do you girls go out like this? No makeup, hair in a ponytail, you're wearing your workout clothes, and I'd be like, we're not looking to impress anyone, right? And we're all like that. We all are very casual compared to her.
Yeah,
would always be well put together. Before work, she would work all day, but come up earlier because she worked in the school system. She followed us through life. And then she would take a little rest. And before my father got home, lipstick, makeup, hair, not a dress or anything, but she would have, and I'd be like, why are you doing that? As I got older. And she's just like, I like to look nice for your father. And listen, they were married almost 60 years, so I guess they did something right. But yeah, so you're saying the same thing. Like when you're presenting yourself, you never know who you're going to run into. And if you work in your neighborhood. Yeah.
Right. You want to have people have a consistent view of you. And if it's sometimes over here and sometimes over, you dress like you're going to see your worst enemy. I love that, Wendy.
You have boxing gloves, Wendy?
That's hilarious.
Somebody who you're just dying to impress.
Right, exactly. Right. And they are always going to catch you looking your best because you always do look your best. Now, of course, there's always going to be like, when I went into the hospital to have my son, I definitely didn't look like I was dressed to the nines. Right? So there's, of course, always exceptions. But for the most part, yeah, you want to be pretty consistent on how you look because consistency creates trust. And so the more consistent you are in how you act and how you appear, how quickly you reply to things, the more that client is going to feel, wow, I can really rely on him or her to be there. I know exactly what I'm getting from them versus, if it's sometimes this, sometimes that sort of trust isn't there quite the same, especially for these high-end people. They really, really want to know that they can rely on you. And we use these small things. They're called like heuristics, where we don't know how to really judge a designer other than we look at his or her pictures and say, do we like them or not? Past that, we don't have a lot of ways to judge them because we don't fully understand, right, interior design. Same thing with a doctor. We don't really know how to judge if they're a really good doctor or not. So what do we judge people on? Things, how they look, how nice they are, how quickly they respond to us, if they do things that they say. So you're making all of these sort of judgments based on things that you know how to quickly judge rather than using what is actually a better judgment, but we just don't have access to that kind of information, right? Especially at the beginning.
Yes, and I'll add to that because I'm a certified body language trainer.
Oh, yeah.
It is actually really huge in how you are trusted by a potential client. They've even done studies with doctors where they have a doctor deliver the exact same message. One, looking the client in the patient in the eye, maybe touching them or their arm while they're delivering it, fronting, which is making sure your feet are facing exactly with them so they can see you're actually in the conversation and using your hands are visible. And those doctors tend to be sued for malpractice much less than a doctor who walks in a room, head down, barely looking at you and giving you diagnosis, right? So when I'm training clients to do their initial consultations, I always say, when you walk in the house, have your hands free. Like you said, they don't have a lot to judge you on until they meet you in person, right? They have, like you said, a picture, maybe a video, some reading, some testimonials, but they don't know if they're actually going to connect with you until you are in person with them.
Right.
And all those little touches, the way you look, the way you sound, your eye contact, your body language, you're paying attention, no phone in your hand, hands free, right?
Yes.
All those things really make an impact on whether they want to work with you.
Right. Yeah, it's shocking sometimes when you meet a professional and you're like, hello. Like, I don't understand why you're not in this conversation with me. And you feel like, should I stop talking? Like, I don't feel like you're listening. Should I wait for you to address something? Like, are you thinking? And yeah, because that is one of the key ways that you know is, like you said, somebody's looking at you, somebody's making eye contact. And those are, little ways that you're judging, okay, I think that they will continue to listen to me about what I want in this design, what I'm looking for. But if your head's this way or that way and you're not looking, then it's like, this isn't the kind of person that's really going to listen to me and respect my opinion and understand me, because those are some of the top things that people are judging you on at the beginning, right? Because we don't know how to judge the interior design ability so much. It is like, are they going to respect me? Are they going to understand what I want? All of those things are really these sort of boxes that they have in their mind that they want to check off before they sign that LOA with you.
Definitely. And they really do know whether they at least want to hire you within the first couple of minutes that you are in that house.
Absolutely, right? It's made so quickly, unless you do something terrible. Right. It really is that first impression. I mean, and we do that with everything. If you have a doctor, absolutely. Wearing the colors and having people comment on how you coordinate is such a good thing, because it means that, you're doing a great job. But yeah, if you see somebody, of a doctor or a lawyer, whoever walks in that first few seconds and they're not smiling at you, they're not looking at you, they're not acknowledging you, then you're like, nope, I'm not doing this.
Listen, it is so important across the board, and it's no different for interior designers. What I went through in Vegas with my mom, when I saw somebody walk in that door, I could tell right away if they were going to treat her with respect, even though she was unconscious. Yeah. And my New Yorker came out, when I tell you, because somebody, it's amazing. Just like there should be taught to talk to her, whether she's unconscious or not, you need to use her name. I want you guys to do the same thing when you walk into someone's house. This luxury service is about respecting who they are, right? So
yes, absolutely.
Call them by name, look in their eye, respect their home, dress to impress. How often do you suggest they touch point with them? I mean, I say weekly for a client during the project stage, that they should at least be sending them weekly updates.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yes. So I always recommend at least a week, and also let the client know that from the beginning, right? You don't want the client to not know what to expect from you. So if you state that from the beginning, they're automatically going to be, again, wow, here she is really organized. There's a plan here. And then they just know that they're going to start going within this process, because you've told them what the process is. You have a process, and they're willing to go along with it. But if you're not sharing these things, then they don't know what the process is, and they're going to start asking questions, and they're going to start trying to take over. So the more you can show from the beginning, I have a plan, I have a process, this is what it is, and I'm going to be reaching out to you, and you're taking that sort of leadership role. Absolutely. And weekly is totally fine, unless, there's something that happens, right? You need their opinion on it. There's a setback, or something's discontinued, or whatever. And then there can be these additional touch points, like you take the client out to lunch or whatever, these extra points. But definitely on a scheduled weekly basis at minimum.
At minimum. Okay.
But not too much, right? I've also talked to people where it's like the designer is texting them 6 times a day being like, do you like this? Do you like this? Do you like this? And it's like, oh, this is too much, right? And you don't want to be wasting your time on that kind of thing either, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I think a weekly touch point with these extra ones here and there is ideal.
And I find that the higher level the interior designer goes in their clientele,
Yeah.
you have to morph into the way the client wants to communicate with you.
Yes.
So, right, at certain levels, I'll say, if you don't want to be text because you have a family, you have a life, you can run your business however you want to run it, right?
Yes.
So if you have a system like MyDoma and you want all the communication to go through MyDoma, then you state that from the beginning, and only in a rare case will you accept a text, like if there's an installer there and something's going wrong.
Sure.
But as you go up to higher levels,
Yeah.
if texting is the way they want to communicate, often to make that money that you are charging them, which would be at a luxury level, you might have to accommodate their communication style. How do you feel about that?
Yes. So I think that there's a good balance kind of in between, because absolutely, right? The higher you go, the higher the expectations go. So there is no doubt about that, right? You are going to be working longer. You're going to be working harder. The expectations are going to be really high, and you're going to have to start doing things that you didn't think that you were going to be doing because you're in that sort of circle. So it does have to be this real conversation with yourself of, do I want to go there? Where it's like you're doing really well and you know that you could move up to that next level, but you have to really consider, do I want to? Do I want this sort of change to my lifestyle that could come with it? Or you're at least going to have someone on staff that's willing to take the heat from that. Even if it's not you, right? It's somebody on your staff that's going to have to do that. And sometimes they're going to have to be contacting you as well. So yes, that's definitely something that I think you just have to expect. Now, on the other hand, of course, you still can have rules and policies, and you just never give out yourself on the, state that from the beginning. But there may be some people who aren't going to accept that because, really wealthy people are used to this sort of service. And so they come to just expect it, again, no matter what category they're in. I was talking to a friend the other day who is an event planner for the American Bar Association, and she's my best friend, and she was telling me all of these tiny little details of these things that people are asking her, and these are like the board members of the ABA, right? They're not just like the members, these are the board members, and the things that they were asking her, I was like, really? Like, you don't even come up with these things. So
here's one
of them. Okay, so the most surprising one, I think, was this woman wanted my friend Stephanie to walk with her to the room. And so she did. And she looked around and said, everything looks great, Stephanie. Thanks so much. Then my friend goes the next morning and overhears this board member telling her boss, I don't have a very big closet. And Stephanie offered me an extra chest of drawers. And I think I'm going to take Stephanie up on that. And Stephanie was like, what? I don't recall ever saying that, right? And so she then has to go to the hotel and see if there's anything that's like this. And they were like, you don't have just like extra furniture around. And so they said, but there is a Target across the street and we could go buy something. But then I was like, but then some Target, everything has to be put together, right? So now that we're going to have to go buy it, put it together. Who's going to foot the bill for this? And the hotel was just going to say yes, right? And then figure it out later. But my friend's director said, go and tell her first. Although they don't have anything on property, we are more than happy to accommodate you and get something off property if you would like. And just see what she said. She said, that's okay, no problem. If there's nothing on property, don't worry about it, right?
Good.
So, but the question was asked, right? And so then like the hotel knows that they have to make these sort of accommodations with these higher end people who are holding, because they were all in very nice suites, right? And so as my friend said, she was like, I don't understand. You have all of these amazing suites, and then just think of all these extra things that like aren't being provided that most of us aren't thinking, but they're just used to this level of service, whereas this is what's normal, right? And they're up here And so, yes, you do have to kind of know that that's the circle that you're going to get into before you get in that circle.
Oh my goodness gracious, it's exhausting, but I'm glad you enjoy it and you teach it. So tell everyone how to find you and what you have going on starting, it's on my other page, September, you tell me, September
9th. Yes, September 9th. Yes. So you can find me at ashleywuhlconsulting.com, and Uhl is UHL. And right now, what I have going on is the exceptional experience. And so that's going to be a live class that starts on September 9th. It's going to be 6 Mondays straight in a row, where we're going to be talking about, how to really additional ways to really up-level your design firm, to really elevate it to something that's high-end, to something that allows you to start charging these higher profits, but also makes you more efficient, right? There are ways to do this in a way, even if you're just a one-person show, you can do this all in a way that is more efficient for both you and the clients. How do we refine your systems and processes? How do we make sure that things are very consistent? How do you maintain client relationships and manage them through the good times and the bad? We're going to be covering all of this and more, the kind of words that you can say to make people feel more comfortable. All of that we're going to go through, starting September 9th, and it's called the Exceptional Experience, and you can find that at ashleywuhlconsulting.com.
I love the title.
Thank you.
I love the title.
Thank you very much.
Go in afterwards on my personal page now, but we shared it in a couple of places, and make sure you put a link to where you want them to go.
I will. And I have a promo code also for $45 off of the class. So the promo code is just wind down.
Oh,
right?
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So I will both put the link and the promo code. And you said in the notes?
Yeah, in the comments under this broadcast, you can put where you want them to go, the link and the promo code, which I really appreciate. And I'm going to try to do a watch party with this since I messed up and broadcasted on the wrong place. I've never done a watch party before, so I'll have to figure it out. Thank you so much for being here. This was fabulous. I love the idea of the luxury experience.
Yes. And it's so fun, and it's really creative. It's another way that you can be creative with your business and continue to make profits. And it really can be done at any sort of level, right? Even if have only been doing this for a few years and you're in the smaller projects, but you're ready, and wanting to go to that sort of next level, absolutely. These are the things that you need to know to start moving up. So it's a lot of fun, and I love it. And thank you so much, Nancy, for having me on here. I had a great time.
Thanks for being here. So, okay, guys. So I'm business coach Nancy, coaching interior designers and other creative entrepreneurs. I will be here next week. I will be. Actually, I will be here next week. So my whole family could be watching, no emergencies. I will be here. So, I don't know who my guest is next week, but I'll figure that out when I get off. So thank you, Ashley, for being here. Thanks everyone for watching. And I will see you in the group. If you're not in my group, the Interior Design Business Forum. I think you had to hesitate and think for a second. It's been a long week. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.